One. Hello, this is Dr. Dan Cardolicchio. You hear my dogs in the background. We're live and raw here. I want to welcome you to another segment of Destination Health Podcast, Finding Function in a Dysfunctional World. I'm here with my new favorite person, Kelly. Thank you for coming on today. We always have a podcast before the podcast. How are you doing today, Kelly?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be back on here with you and have another amazing conversation. We just talk so well and spread so much good education and information. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you know what? We had a great conversation and we decided that we weren't done with everything. And I'm just going to check it right now. Our first podcast is really doing well. And we didn't finish what we were going to discuss. Oh, yeah, it's still rocking. We got thousands of views, so I'm happy about that. That means we're motivating, educating, and inspiring. But today, we want to start off with food and nutrition.
Yeah. Because
Kelly does a lot of work in that area. She helps individuals out. She's had a past where she's had to overcome, and she's overcome very nicely. Wellness bodybuilder, placing top 5, national stage. Why is food important? Not only for bodybuilding. I mean, geez, of course it's, okay, it's perfect for bodybuilding. I mean, you can't eat hamburgers and hot dogs when you're training for a show, right?
No, absolutely not. And you're completely right. Nutrition isn't just important for bodybuilders, but it's good for everyone, everywhere, at all times. Nutrition is such an integral part of your health, your immune system, your digestive system. And we kind of touched on gut health last time, but gut health is kind of like the hot topic right now in nutrition. And I'm
sure
really
is.
grateful because one of the biggest things I tell people is you can actually hold 20 pounds of waste in your gut alone. And so everyone's like, man, I do all these things and my stomach just doesn't seem to go down. And I'm like, well, if you do a cleanse of some sort, I do one all the time, you'll see that your stomach will shrink inches in days. There's no miracle pill for that. It's just, you're just getting rid of the undigested waste in your colon, and you're allowing your stomach to finally process food properly. And so yeah, there's no magic pill to that. It's just, hey, we have to help our body sometimes, but as long as we're eating a well-balanced diet and a nutritious diet, we're not going to have as many problems with that either.
I think this is important because when people hear a cleanse or a detox, everybody gets like, oh, they get all, their eyes go up. It's not that you're not eating. It's not that you're drinking orange juice for 5 days or 20 days. It's not like you're just drinking water and things of that nature. This has nothing to do with it. Detoxification, cleanse, it's an energy dependent process that needs an array of vitamins and minerals to help the process along, right? Yeah. So that's what these are designed to do. Listen, if you have somebody that wants to sell you something and it sounds a little whatever, we're on, where to find us on Instagram. We can make a recommendation, to help you out. Right, Kelly? So there's no issues with that. So it's not that it's a situation where, you're just going to drink water, for a month and a half, because you're just not going to be able to, survive that.
No.
So it's important. And I do a cleanse, and it's an energy dependent process. Like I said, certain vitamins and minerals that help you move your bowels, because gut health is all the rage today, right?
It is. Well, and I really like the way that you said that, because we talked about this last time. There's all these different fads and all these different trends and all these different products. And America is probably one of the most overwhelming countries as far as products go. If you go to Italy or France or all these other countries, they have maybe 2 toothpaste you can choose from, and a couple different hair products and things like that. And same thing with nutrition products. America has an overwhelming amount of things to choose from and fads going on. And so it's really important that you are not stripping your body of the nutrients while you're trying to clear out the things in your gut. And so I think detoxes and cleanse have gotten sometimes a bad rap. And because doing a juice cleanse, I would say pumping a bunch of sugars into your body by doing a juice cleanse is probably not the right way. And I'll
That's a
put
good
that
thing,
out
right?
there. Just drinking water for a couple days is also not really the best way to do it. There are healthy ways to do cleanses. And it's really important that you're not stripping
Right.
your gut lining while you're doing it. So you have to, you're going to lose some of the nutrients in your body while you're doing it, because you're cleansing that out, but you have to put probiotics back in while you're doing it. And so there's a really good marriage of these two things of, as you're cleansing stuff out, you're putting the good back in, and then you don't go back to your old ways. Now you continue on with the good ways and replenishing your body with
100%. And that's a perfect way to put it, because if you're eating foods that are high, like ultra processed foods, omega-6 fatty acids and stuff like that, it's not really that good for you. And you don't want to eat those foods, because it does create, for a better lack of a term, some havoc in your stomach. You get this thing called leaky gut or intestinal permeability. Everybody freaks out. You know, Kelly, everybody freaks out over terms today.
Yeah.
Leaky gut, and everybody, oh, you know, or adrenal exhaust. Oh, your adrenals don't get exhausted. But, you know, I'm taking a painkiller. It's the same thing. It's just a descriptive terminology, you know, that people use to, you know, that people use to explain something. You want me to sit there as a chiropractor and say, talk about the pain gate and the thalamus and this and that and the other thing and how it works. And you got the afferent and efferents, and it goes to the spinal cord. It goes up to the brain, the pain. No, I don't want to talk about it. I learned it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it with the patient, because they're going to look at me and say, what's going on? It's like if I go to, you know, an insurance guy and they talk about this, and I mean, I want to understand it, but I want it in simple terms so I can understand what you're talking about. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to talk about this. Don't tell me you can do, you know, surgery on my anterior cruciate ligament and, you know, or my biceps and the insertion and the origins here. I don't want to.
No,
that's just not, I'm not interested in that. How can you help me out?
Yeah.
Oh, I understand. Right. Yeah. So it is important. And you mentioned, you know, probiotics, and probiotics help heal that gut, helps repair it. Right. So eating a diet filled with probiotics is actually very good. Right.
Yeah, well, exactly. And here's the thing. That's why we have experts and coaches in fields, in certain fields, because we're not called to learn everything in the world. And we also don't need to know everything in the world either. But that's why it's really important that you go and seek out someone who is knowledgeable in areas and who you also, I guess, for lack of terms, vibe with. And so when someone is able to explain things in a way that you are able to understand, that's when you know you found your person or your expert in that field. And so when you're maybe seeing someone who's over explaining, confusing you, and you're not really sure what direction to go with, that's maybe someone's advice that you shouldn't take, especially if you're always finding yourself changing different fads, changing different things. You are finding yourself in a state of confusion, and that's why you're not getting the results that you're seeking. And yeah, like you said, leaky gut is, you know, is a term that we use, but hey, what does that mean? Well, we're just going to look at the symptoms real quick and say, hey, do any of these kind of resonate with you? Yes or no? And how do we resolve that? And that's where it takes that expert to be able to ask you those quick questions and to be able to give you a solution that's going to work for you long term. But then once you've got that, you have to do the follow-up. You have to do the work, because because we are not people who are going to follow you around every day and say, sorry, Sally, don't eat those McDonald's French fries. That's going to undo everything we just talked about.
Right. And that's important to note, because your diet is always number one when it comes to, because people come into my office, you know, Kelly, and they have, and, you know, it's like this red badge of honor that they have, that they're taking 15 supplements or something like that. Why? You can't out supplement a bad diet, right? You just can't do that. Yeah. But, you know, your diet is always the most important aspect of it, right? So when you were on stage for the Wellness Bodybuilder, I mean, you're not eating, you know, poorly to fuel your body and to build muscle mass, because building muscle mass, no matter who you are, is good for your overall health. You become a better fat burning machine. You have high percent, you have high percent lean muscle mass, low percent body fat. But this is a concept that individuals seem to have a very difficult time with. And it's a very difficult situation to get somebody to eat healthy, right? Do you find that when you're working with somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it really comes from overstimulation of misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
I keep circling back around to this topic that
Mm-hmm.
there's so much information out there that people don't know what to grab onto. So they grab onto a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
They try something for a couple of days and they don't see the instant results, and then they still feel bad and all the things. And so then they just don't know what to do. So then they start to starve themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just spiral downhill.
Right.
And everything I do in life, and I have found my life is so much easier when I keep everything simple.
Mm-hmm.
Heard of that term before, KISS, keep it simple. I won't
Smarty, keep it simple, smarty. That's the way I say it.
exactly. I love it. And so
You can use it. I don't know if I made it up, but if I did, you'll get a
I'm
bill
gonna
in
use
public.
it. I love it. And so it's like if I could impart anything to anyone, it would be is that just to keep it simple. And what does simple look like as far as nutrients goes? Can we just say stop the fad diet, stop all
Mm-hmm.
the things you've heard from everyone else, and let's be honest. We all know you should eat organic. We all know that
Mm-hmm.
you should eat from the earth. And if you really just say, if it doesn't come from a package that you open, I mean, you open
Mm-hmm.
rice, I get it. We don't need to get to those minute details. But if it really doesn't come from the earth, should you be eating it? No. And that really just comes down to the fact that we shouldn't be eating processed foods, and we should also be fueling our body with a proper amount of nutrients. So stop underfeeding yourself and start giving yourself the nutrients so that your brain can function and process, and then your body has the energy.
Right.
We have to put the energy in, or have to put the calories in for our body to
Mm-hmm.
transform into energy to be
Right.
able to function. And that's why we have so many difficulties with moods and diseases. And it really just comes down to underfeeding ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
overfeeding the processed stuff.
Right.
And it's kind of like a receipt. I like to see food as kind of like when you're in the grocery store and you're scanning the barcode. Each barcode means something. It's been
Mm-hmm.
attached to something that the computer registers and says, hey, this is rice. It costs $6.99. So therefore, I'm going to charge you that. And that's the same thing with our body. We put something in and our body will scan that barcode and it'll say, hey, okay, this is rice. I'm going to use this for this amount of energy. Oh, this is a McDonald's French fry. I don't really know what that is, and I'm not really quite sure how to use that for energy. So I'm
Yeah, and I don't mean to interject here, but I get a little I get confused and I get upset because you have individuals out there. It's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. And they may be dealing with athletes that are 16, 17, 18 years old. Well, think back to those days. I mean, doesn't take much to get you back into shape, but you're eating a poor diet and you have chronic lifestyle diseases. You're a type 2 diabetic. You don't want to continue on with that. I have so many individuals that come into my office because they go see somebody else and they just they're not getting the benefit of what they should be getting. Is it possible to be in your 60s and lose 60, 70, 80 pounds and to get your fasting plasma glucose, your HbA1c into normal range? Sure, it is. You just have to, like you say, eat from the earth. I mean, so it doesn't work out eating cheesecake, hamburgers and fast foods and special sauces and all of that stuff like that. It's just not healthy for you,
no.
and it doesn't happen eating one, right, Cal? It doesn't happen eating one, when you're in a bad lifestyle. And I don't even want to eat any of that stuff. Even when I do eat that stuff, I was coming out of a hockey tournament not too long ago, and we were a little bit away from the hotel. And, there was a fast food place and my son was just bear hungry. We were there for 5 or 6 hours. I was hungry. He and I slept because after that burger, we just felt so bad because we just don't eat like that on a regular basis.
Well, that happened to my kids this weekend. Just like you, I was gone at a conference. And so my two little ones were getting watched by a family friend. And I even feed my children a very healthy, clean diet.
Gotcha.
And she ended up feeding them cotton candy, Starbucks, and McDonald's. And my two little ones at 6 and 8 come home and go, Mom, I totally understand what you mean about a clean diet, because they were tired. I think a better word for it is lethargic. Lethargic is a better word than tired. It's just when you're like, your body just does not want to function at all. Their bellies hurt, headache. And so it's like a lot of people don't understand what I'm really saying until they experience it themselves. I call myself a water snob. And I say that in a funny term because I only drink alkaline water. And so many people who aren't particular about their water go, why do you do that? You're a water snob. I'm like, yeah, I am. And so I'll say, hey, how about you just try this for 2 or 3 weeks? I just want you to drink alkaline water. And then I want you to drink any other water you've drank before, because people are like, I drink from the tap, or I just drink this type of bottled water, whatever. I've had several people do that. And then they try the other water and they're like, I can taste the metals in there.
You taste the difference, right?
It tastes like sewer water. And they complain about it. And I was like, until you change what you've been ingesting, it's like a fog over your face. You just don't.
Listen, what you're saying is important. And when you're talking, I'm thinking of examples of just some stuff that I've seen in individuals over the years. So do I have to drink water every day? Okay, so you've been drinking sugary sodas every day. So we're going to change that.
Yeah.
We're going to change it. So my son has this glass jug, and I saw him today, and he was drinking this gallon thing that he does. It's like at the gym, everybody's walking around with the big jugs and stuff like that. He's got a glass one. He looked at me, goes, yeah. He goes, finally, I understand what you're talking about. And I want to get in better shape because I want to play hockey at a high level, and I feel better when I'm doing this. And I said, good boy. I mean, you figured it out. And when I change somebody's diet, I like to keep it simple. And I don't know if I said this on our first podcast, where, I'm trying to break bad habits, and I don't like to have a lot of moving parts right away because it can get somewhat confusing. So, I'll say to my patient, listen, you're having a cup of coffee and a buttered roll every day. So why don't we do this every day instead? Let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
Doc, do I have to eat this every day? It's going to get boring. But you're having coffee with cream or the flavored cream, and you have 6 packets of sugar because you were told by somebody that the sugar is not bad, and so forth. And you're having a buttered roll, and you get the buttered roll and you dip it in the coffee. You got yourself a little pastry thing going on there, right? And you got a little extra butter. So you're doing that. Why don't you do this for a while?
Yeah.
Sometimes they say yes until we get them to see the light. I was
Yeah.
talking with somebody the other day, and we were away at a hockey tournament. I won't mention the person's name. He's a friend of mine. And, he was saying that nutrition is nonsense and stuff like that. White floured macaroni, which I love macaroni. I don't eat the white floured anymore. It makes me pass out. I get really tired because of the processed stuff it's made from. And vaping in the restaurant, half a bottle of wine, meatballs and sausage. And I'm sure we're at a restaurant, it's not organic or it's not whatever, and the red sauce or the gravy, whatever you want to call it, I'm sure it's made with vegetable oil and it's not made with extra virgin olive oil. Yeah. Next day at breakfast, 6 pancakes, whipped cream, butter, syrup on the eggs, on the home fries. And there was a little fruit on there. The fruit wasn't even touched. It was pushed over to the side.
Yeah.
So why would you want to do that to your body, especially after you have an event like he did? It brought him to a point where he was just not, his health was failing. And so what we're trying to impart on everybody is it's okay to change. It's okay. Do you find that individuals are fearful of changing, Kelly?
It is. And so one of the things I learned from the conference that I was at this weekend is a lot of times we look at the symptoms and not the root.
Mm-hmm.
And so why we call ourselves coaches and why I think it's a really important word, you know, it's we are getting to the root of the problems that caused the symptoms they're seeing, right?
100%.
So until you deal with the root, you're never going to understand why the fear or the habit is there. And it can come from as something as crazy as like, I'll bring up my brother, for example. He says, Mom, you used to make me take one more bite of my meal, and that was abusive. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I do the same thing with my kids. Why? Because we saw them eat 2 bites of maybe like a quarter of an inch of something, and we know that
it's crazy
enough. And so as an encourager, we say, hey, you know what, if you just take 2 more bites of your chicken, you'll be done. You know, we want to give people like an end to something, but some people will grab onto these seemingly small things that might not affect maybe your sisters. You know, my sister and I never even thought about that being an abusive thing. But my brother held on to that. And so everybody
has different experiences, right? Everybody has different experiences. So that's just, you know,
we all process things differently. So we don't really understand what the root of some eating problems come from. It might not have anything to do with food at all. It could literally be like,
this is a great point that you're bringing up, because I do happen to refer individuals to places, you know, where they can talk about or figure out what that relationship with their food is and where does it come from. You know, when we had our first conversation, you were very vulnerable about being raped when you were, you know, very young, 12, 13 years old, and how that just changes everything, and how, you know, all aspects of your life begin to fall apart. Right. It just begins to fall apart, and to where you are today and how you live your lifestyle, you know, faith-based, eating healthy and doing things. You and your husband are raising children. Like you say, you're a blended family, and how everybody's on the same page. And when you're on the same page, especially as a family or a group, very powerful, right?
Yeah.
So, it is extremely, how old are you?
I just turned 32 last week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You know, I'm looking at a picture of Kelly that she had sent me that we're going to put up later on. And I mean, you look like you're just like a teenager, right? You're just rocking, you know, and who would have thought that you can be this way right now, today, right? After everything you've gone through, but you're feeling good. You're looking good. You ought to be in Hollywood type of a situation, right?
Well, I am way happier now. Like, you know, so many people are cute and they go, oh, happy 21st birthday and all the things. And I was like, actually, I'm really proud. I know 32 is still young, as you know, especially when you're older, like, you're still just a baby. I'm like, okay, but yeah, when you've lived your 20s feeling tired, depleted, depressed, anxious,
you lost a whole decade of your life.
I literally lost a whole decade of my life. I'm like, I would never want to go back to my 20s. I was like, actually, please don't be cute and be like, oh, you're 21. No, I'm 32. And I'm very, very proud of that, because I feel amazing. I feel way better in my 20s. I actually feel way better than in my late teens. And I think I look more beautiful, more radiant. I am self-confident. I am joyful. I am all the things. And so actually, I mean this in a joking way. It's offensive to me. Don't call me 21. I don't want to be the 21-year-old me. I want to be the 32-year-old me, because I really like who I am.
Right. Because you've overcome everything, and you've done what you've, you know, in order to do that. Did you find, coming out of what you went through, that your diet was poor? You were just down on yourself, and you were just, you know, emotional eating, if you will, right? A friend of mine, Trisha Nelson, talks about emotional eating. I saw Trisha this weekend. It was good to see you, Trisha. you know, we haven't seen each other. So it was, you know, she's a good friend. So it was good, you know, everything's over. Everybody can go to conferences and stuff. Anyway, did you find like it was like that was one of the things that held you back was was a really poor diet because of what you went through?
Everything goes together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you don't feel good about yourself on the inside, why would you even want to fuel your body with anything good? Because it's like, my body doesn't even deserve that. You go through all those things. It's like, why am I gonna eat a well-balanced meal when no one cares about me and I don't look good and no one appreciates me and all the things? So it's like, why even bother spending money on that? You go just down this like really dark
right.
You know, it's like, why? I don't feel good, so I'm not going to fuel my body good. And so I'm just going to live in this miserable space. But, you know, I put not a massive amount of time into how I look every day. I think I just naturally look good now. Why? Because I take care of myself. But I like to present myself looking beautiful every day because I feel good. So I'm not going to now I'm not living in that space where I'm going to walk around in sweats or things like that. Like I say, you're going to see me in two things. You're going to see me in really nice workout clothes. And I spend a lot of money on workout clothes, not because I need to look good, because no, it's like, I'm going to the gym. That's where I spend most of my time. That's like my office space. So I'm going to come dressed in my nice office stuff. Or you're going to see me in a really pretty dress. I wear like two things. I don't have an in between. I'm either glam or I'm gym glam. And it has to do with the fact that I want to always represent myself how I feel on the inside.
You respect yourself, and this is how you respect yourself.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And your husband's in really good shape too, isn't he?
Oh my God, he's in amazing shape.
Right? Isn't he in good shape too?
I mean,
he followed me on social media and all of that stuff like that. So I mean, I remember seeing the pictures and I was like, wow, I mean, dude's in really good shape too. So he follows the whole program also.
Oh yeah, he does. And even before we met each other, he was already very dedicated to a different type of lifestyle. Even when he was in the military, it's very easy to get wrapped up into eating the MREs or eating what's quick because you just aren't afforded time. But he would always try to find little hacks to be able to eat healthy. So he'd bring a big bag of spinach with him on a deployment and a couple packs of tuna, and he would put the packs in the spinach and he would eat the whole thing, whether he wanted to or not, because he's like, I don't care where I am, I'm still gonna feed my body so that I can fight the good fight, you know?
Absolutely. And do your children, are they physically active?
Oh, they're super physically active. They don't have a choice. I'm their coach and all.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
They have to. So they're working out every day. I'm looking at a video right now of your children doing leg presses and things of that nature.
God. That's one of my
that's great.
videos. And actually on my Instagram, my kids are one of the things that get the most views because it's so inspiring to see children making the choice to have healthy habits. I mean, my leg press video is one of the greatest examples, is because
I saw that and I was like, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
It's like they're helping each other.
Well, they are.
It's like, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. They're helping each other. And your daughter's doing the leg press, and it looks like your son's helping her out, you know, and so forth. So it's all good. Then there's you helping. Oh, you're showing foot positioning and stuff. But you know, as you know, and as everybody knows, I don't like to talk the macros and the micros because that gets a little boring because it's the same thing. I eat a little bit of protein. I do this in the carbs. This is my grams, and here I am. Yeah. But I think it's important because if you have children that are eating well and they're exercising, right? It's just, I think that society will be better off in the long run. Right. Yeah. You'll be more healthy. I mean, we always get diseases and stuff like that, but give your body that fighting chance. Right. Yeah. Because what do they say? Genetics holds the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger for something. Right. So you need to keep your children active and healthy and eating right. Right.
Absolutely. Well, here's a really good example. So the other day I had full blood work done. You know, I've had doctors do full blood work, but no, like actually full blood work where they looked into everything. You know, it's not just a regular doctor. I went to a really good place that my friends own. And they were like, oh, do you know you have PCOS? And I was like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, polycystic ovary syndrome. I was like, no. I was like, I know I had my ovary removed because of a cyst. So I'm assuming that was why, but no one ever like specifically told me or educated me or any other things. And they were like, well, looking at all your blood work, actually your blood work is not only better than a normal person, it's better than someone who normally has PCOS, but it's actually better than normal people. And they were like, I'm assuming, I mean, just by looking at you, your diet must be so good because, and you probably don't experience all the symptoms that go with that because you've just naturally created a healthy environment for your body to prosper and live in. And I said, oh, great. Well, I'm glad. And I was like, yeah, I live this way because I feel good. And before I didn't feel so good. So I continued to live this way. And they were like, well, that's so awesome because we don't have to like treat any of the things except for giving you maybe this thyroid thing because typically my periods are really heavy. And they said, well, that's caused by it. Well, ever since I just took this 2 little thyroid things a day, maybe TMI, but my period this time around was only 2 days of something really light, where for me, normally it's 7 days of like being very heavy. And I said, oh,
and your hormones are all, I spent this weekend, like I said, at a conference, and, a lot of the docs that were there, they do hormone optimization and, how can we help ourselves out hormonally, both females and males, right? Via our diet and some supplements and targeted nutrition, some targeted supplements, so that your functioning, your physiology, your biochemistry is more regulated, right? Because I have patients that come in with PCOS and different types of dysmenorrhea, periods and so forth. And it's just bad because it's just that the foods that they eat, it just makes it that much worse, right?
Yeah. Well, and so like that was such a good example of me living a life, not even knowing I had a label that could be put on me with something that I was born with that I didn't even know, but I was already naturally. And the reason why I didn't know is because I was living such a healthy life that I didn't need to go seek answers of how to heal it. And I just happened to get my blood work done because I was like, well, I'm in bodybuilding and I'm doing all the things. I want to make sure my hormones are all okay because you're taking yourself to the extremes. And then to find out, oh, hey, actually, you're doing great because you do great things for yourself. And so it's like exactly how you said, we're actually all born sometimes predisposed to certain diseases.
Sure, that's genetics. It holds the gun. The lifestyle pulls the trigger, right? That's what we were saying.
Exactly. And so, yes, if you are living, drinking alkaline water and keeping yourself in a really good homeostasis environment, you're not living, more acidic or any of those things, you're not going to give your body a reason to trigger reactions to these things. And genetically speaking, on both sides of my family, we've had Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, all these, brain disorders. Like it stems from, your brain kind of starting to decline. And so I'm like, well, I don't ever want to suffer with those things. And I'm not going to, because I'm going to live a healthy life. And so I'm most likely not going to trigger any of those potential genetic things that come into my life. And I looked at the nutrition and the lifestyle that all those people had, and it was the sodas and the red meats, like,
Correct. And this goes to what we were saying a little bit the first time. You have choices. You got to rewire your brain to make better choices, because if you're eating poorly, that is a choice. That's a personal responsibility that there's only one individual that you need to look into the mirror with, right? And that's you, because these processed foods, and this comes from a article that I'm thinking, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the first podcast, from the Mayo Clinic proceedings 4 or 5 years ago. It's one of those situations where these processed foods, these fast foods, these processed foods, cakes, candies, cookies, they're made to be palatable. They're available all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're affordable. You can just walk into any store and you can just get some type of cake, candy. I'm a little hungry. I'm passing 7-Eleven or I'm passing a store and I run in and I can get a fix of sugary soda and this, if I'm passing those types of stores, I'm not getting anything except for some water, the alkaline water or something like that to help me out until I get to the office.
Yeah.
Because that'll help calm your hunger too when you're drinking. It's just better for you. Makes you eliminate more, it gets rid of toxins in your body. We're meant to be drinking a lot of water. We're meant to be drinking water. A lot of our body is water.
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing. People assume that because I'm no longer feeling hungry, that I'm fed. And I think that's the biggest personal misinformation that we have learned through experience. When I put any food into my body and I no longer feel hungry, therefore I'm fed, right? I'm fine. So, and I'm still alive, so I'm fine. But we've misinformed ourselves by saying that. And it's like, that's why later on, and it might not be right now, but in 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, now you have a disease and you haven't realized it's because all the times you've told yourself you're fed and you're no longer hungry.
Yeah.
But you're not giving yourself the nutrients. And I really wish if there's nothing else you learn from my podcast with you, is the word nutrients and understand the difference between like feeling fed and not feeling hungry and giving your body nutrients. If that's the only thing you learn is the word nutrients, am I giving my body nutrients? Then I succeed in life.
Great. Awesome. I think that's good because, I look at my life and, never drank water in high school, except for when you were competing, you got thirsty, or you had Gatorade or something like that. That was big in those days. That's still big. And I don't like those products either, but we never drank water and we just ate whatever we wanted to eat. Do you actually go off your diet at any given time or you just stay on your diet?
Oh no, I go off my diet. Yeah.
How do you feel after you go off on your diet?
Oh, horrible. My body. So,
right.
After I competed for a year straight. So that's also not healthy either. So I'm not trying to say I'm this pillar of perfection and health and everything I do is great and wonderful. That would be a lie. I like to be very open and frank. But then my body was like, I just want food. And so after you compete and you have been starving yourself from sugars, because sugars are good, but particular type of sugars, my body's like, I just want to eat anything. And so I like allowed myself to eat everything. But then now that I'm like balanced hormonally again, my body's like, I don't want that stuff. It doesn't feel good. I just want to eat good, clean food. So my body naturally is back into the state of like, okay, you did your thing. You let your hair down and had fun. And now we're kind of over it. And we don't want to do that again. And so
I agree.
I get myself to like breathe, but then my body naturally corrects itself and is like, hey, I kind of miss what we were doing before. Like, let's go back to that.
Right. And we were talking a little bit of the first podcast is habits, daily habits, because these are all just habits that you need to do. You get up in the morning and you're going to have a good, nutritious breakfast, nutrient dense breakfast. And that just sets your day instead of having the coffee with the flavored creamer, the sugars, and, how many packets are you going to put in or something along those lines. It just drives me crazy that people do that. And it's right there in front of our faces, but it's very difficult for individuals to change at times. So it's all good. But you know what? We're at 50 minutes again.
Oh my God, really? It's so fast.
It goes. We're just about at there. So there's another podcast in here. We'll discuss that.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that. So where can people find you so that you can help optimize their life?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Kelly Nicole Fitness. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I'm always on there. I love responding to questions. I love having conversations with people and giving them the right type of education. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, listen, we recommend Kelly. So get out there and start asking her questions. We have ideas for other podcasts that are going through my mind. Want to thank you very much for being on again today. It goes really quick. And want to thank everybody for listening. Listen, take this information, send it out to your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, family members. We love to motivate, educate, and inspire. There is a better way, no matter where you are right now. It may take a little bit of time. It may take a little bit of work. But once you're committed, get committed. Don't be interested. Interest will only get you so far. Committed will get you over the hump. And I think Kelly will agree with this. Once you feel incredibly better, once you eat better and you're drinking your alkalized water, you're just going to feel incredibly better. I'm 60 years old and I'm still rocking and rolling. I have no intention of slowing down at any time soon. So Kelly, thank you very much again for being on. And we'll discuss. Hold on here. And everybody, thank you for listening. Take care now.